All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a very special video because I'm actually responding to a comment from one of our audience members. He was asking for a little bit of financial advice, and honestly, for me, this is just something that I love to see. The whole reason why I started this channel is so that I could help people in similar situations, people within my age group, be successful and set themselves up financially in the future. So, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you getting involved and asking all the right questions. So this comment is from Gabriel Mikado. Hopefully I'm not butchering the name. But he says, I agree about saving early and earning from compound interest on that money over time, but at the same time, someone young should be investing not in stocks, but his own education or developing a business so that he can increase their income first. After that, it makes sense to go for savings accounts, stocks, and so forth. I've also been thinking about the whole balance between saving and investing for the future versus enjoying things and experiences in the youth while you can. Unfortunately, you can happen to be wealthy later on and do not have the time or health conditions to enjoy the things you could do before. Totally understand, and for this, I'm going to be giving my own perspective. So take all my advice or all my comments with a little bit of grain of salt. So I'm going to divide this up into two sections. The first one is the comment on investing in yourself, and then the second one, establishing a balance between your youth and when you grow older. So looking at the first one, you're absolutely correct. The number one thing that you could do is build a skill set and increase your earning potential. I mentioned this earlier on another video, but you're not paid by how well you do your job, you're paid by how hard you are to replace. So if you have a skill set that no one else has, you're going to be paid a lot higher. If it's a skill set that's valuable and is producing money, right? That's what a business does, right? Then it's going to be valuable for you too. And so there's kind of a balance between I would say maybe two or three buckets of skills. The first one is the technical skills, which you would think would be like coding, programming, like all those different types of things. The second would be the more analytical skills. So understanding data, being able to use Excel, financial forecasting, planning, analysis, all those different types of things. And then the last one being people skills. And so for the last bucket for people skills, it's very simple, just effective communication, your presence, your charisma, emotional intelligence, and your leadership. So those are the three buckets that you're going to need to focus on. And I totally get that. That's something that I'm personally developing too. And for me, this might be a controversial opinion, but I feel like the best thing that you could do to develop a skill, especially when you're in your early 20s, is to really work for someone else and be able to learn all those skills and be mentored by them risk-free, right? Because if you start a business, there's so much you're taking on, you're dedicating your time, you're dedicating your energy. Maybe you're not working on the most important tasks. That's something that I found when I was running my marketing agency, right? The only way that you're going to be able to reduce your risk and be able to develop a skill set is by working full time for someone else who's done the things that you want to do already. So for example, I'm in consulting right now. Obviously, I wish I made a little bit more, but right now I'm developing all the skill sets in terms of client management, financial planning, data analysis, being able to pitch and sell things. And those are all things that are going to be valuable for me in the future when I want to start my own entrepreneurial endeavor, right? A lot of the projects that I'm working on, I'm literally consulting $1 million industries or $1 million businesses, and they're asking for my advice, a 21 or 22-year-old. And the reason behind that is because I'm working at a reputable company, right? Obviously, the managers and whoever are going to be reviewing my work, but at the end of the day, I have zero risk at all. Maybe, the only thing is if I don't get a promotion or if I get fired or something like that. But from my aspect, I just don't have risk, right? Because I'm working for someone else. They're taking on the risk of running that business. So going back to what I said about the marketing agency, this was something that I did for around 9 months and I had some success. I closed around 4 clients, made less than $10,000 around that. But it was just something that was so time consuming, so tedious, and I wish I made more. I mean, don't get me wrong, I developed an amazing skill set, but at the same time, it takes away from what you could be doing in other fields, right? That business was taking maybe 10 or 20 hours a week of my life, and I was completely stressed trying to balance my full-time job and everything as well. And I understand the need for side hustles and improving how much you're bringing in. But think of it right now that you're planting the seeds for your success in the future. The money that you make in your first full-time job honestly doesn't matter that much. Yes, you could look at people in software engineering making 200,000, but right now, if you want to go into business or you want to start your own business, you have to be able to develop those skill sets first, which take years to be able to build up. So you need sales, marketing, you need operations, being able to hire effectively, all those different types of things. And the best way to learn is to learn from someone else. Go do your W-2 job and be very good at that one skill set. And then that skill set can lead to more opportunities in the future, whether it be your own entrepreneurial endeavor or it's just, another role that might be paying higher as well. The lead salespeople in the world can make over 500,000. It's crazy. And they're only focused on one thing, which is sales. So skill development and also like the skill variety you have is important. You just have to figure out what makes the most sense for you. Next thing in this is being in the right room of people. So not everything, especially when you're investing in yourself, not everything is going to have like a monetary ROI. Sometimes it's like a relationship return, right? If you're in the right room of people who can potentially refer you to a higher paying position or something that gives you a better opportunity, or potentially even be an investor in your business, that's not something that you could technically measure on paper of like, hey, I know this person, so therefore I'm like making this much money or something like that. So this is honestly one of the most underrated things. And this is very similar to what I was mentioning earlier about planting those seeds and like, kind of growing out for the future. Because the thing is, networking right now might not seem like a lot and it might not seem like you're getting that much. But the thing is, if you're building these relationships with people, you're checking in, you're providing free value for them. In the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be something that's mutually beneficial, right? Obviously, not all networking relationships pan out. And yes, it does take a lot of time to consistently follow up with people and do cold outreach and, talk to people in different industries. But this is going to be one of the most invaluable skill sets that you could build in terms of your network capital. Your network is your net worth. That is the saying. And so you have to be able to build this early on. So a lot of different things to explore. Hopefully that answers your question. Second thing that I want to talk about is balance. And so first, I think the thing that we have to do is define what wealth is. I feel like a lot of people nowadays, especially with social media, have a very misconstrued view of what wealth looks like in the United States. First of all, if you live in the United States, you're in one of the luckiest zip codes in the entire world, nay, even history, right? There's so many third world countries or places that just have less earning potential and have lower living standards compared to the US. And within history, you are literally healthier in a better position than like the Greek monarchs or oligarchists like 200, 300 years ago, right? Because of all the healthcare advancements and technology. So be mindful that that is, you're already in the top like 0.0001% of all the wealthiest people in human history. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is a lot of young people, this was a survey taken, they were asked how much they thought they needed to be successful. And an overwhelming majority, maybe like 60-70% of them, said that they wanted $500,000 and that's their metric for success. That's crazy, right? Like less than 1% probably of the entire US makes more than 500,000, and you have to be in a field for more than 10 years on average to be able to make that type of money, right? So there is a very misrepresented view in terms of what wealth looks like. Like everyone's goal is to be like a millionaire, makes a $10 million net worth or something like that. And I feel like that's not the right way to approach it. For me, wealth looks like being healthy, doing what I want to do when I want without necessarily being reliant on something else, like, for example, a job or a business, and then also having a family that I could support and provide for. And so everyone's definition of wealth is going to be very different. And I would recommend that you determine what your definition is within reasonable means, right? So let's say 5 years from now, you want to be in a certain position. You need to start being able to define on paper what that means to you. Whether it's like, hey, I want to be able to go out for lunch at a fancy restaurant, maybe once or twice a week. I want to, be able to travel 2 times a year. I want to never be able to look at the grocery bill when I go shopping, right? You need to be able to define these specific metrics and define what that level of wealth looks like for you. Lifestyle inflation is a huge thing. You're always going to be comparing yourself to whoever is ahead of you like 2 years ago. And let's say you make 200,000 now. There's definitely going to be people that that make 250,000, and that doesn't mean that you're making not that much money. It just means that you're always comparing upwards, right? So you have to be able to keep that level and understanding of what wealth looks like for you at a consistent view and be able to define what your rich life looks like. If you haven't watched Ramit Sethi, he talks about his rich life and the definition and being able to actually put that on paper. So I would recommend looking at that if you want to learn more there. But the other thing I wanted to mention is just enjoying the small things. So a lot of people, like especially around my age, it's always like parties, drinks, you're going out, you're going to social events, totally okay, but why are you paying $20 for a cocktail? Right? Like you could enjoy yourself without spending money. And maybe that's a hard concept, but the thing is like for me, most of my hobbies are very like physical, right? I One of the things that I value is my personal health, my physical and my mental well-being. And so a lot of the hobbies that I have are literally dedicated to just that, and they're all so cheap. Like I play pickleball, I play badminton, I go to the gym. My gym has a student discount, even though I'm not a student, but don't tell them. But they have a student discount, $100 for 100 days. So I literally pay $1 a day and I do a 2 hour workout or 1 hour workout or whatever, how long, maybe 4 to 5 times a week. And so there's a lot of different things that you could do in terms like a hobby perspective to have some level of personal enrichment and fulfillment that doesn't necessarily require you spending so much money. Obviously, if you have a different hobby, like being an equestrian or being golf or like a car collector or like a collectibles, which require money, like obviously do it. I'm not telling you not to, but what I'm saying is that there's hobbies and different things that you could do that don't require anything. Like for example, walking. One of my friends is a huge walker. Like he walks 10 miles a day or something like that. I'm not saying that you should be in walking, but that is like literally the cheapest hobby that you could have, right? He goes to like forest reserves, he does hikes, he takes pictures of the flowers that he passes by. So that's one more thing. The other thing, especially from living in a wealthy life, you have to know what the ROI of whatever you're doing is, right? I feel like a lot of people right now is just thinking about the financial ROI. Me as well. I want to be financially free. I want to build up my investment portfolio, everything like that. But there's so many other things that you need to figure out, like what the ROI is, right? So think of time, money, experience, health, relationships, right? Wealth is not just how much money you have on paper, right? It's about all the other things that bring fulfillment in life. When people are nearing their deathbeds, they don't care about how much money that they've been able to build up because they're not going to be able to spend it anymore. They only care about like the relationships that they built, the connections that they made, the impact that they made on their community. For me, that's something that I'm looking for too, right? It's not about how many dollar bills that you could have in a bank account. It's more so the personal fulfillment and enjoyment that you've gotten from your life. And yes, that's going to be like traveling, that's going to be doing things that do require money, but there is some level of balance, right? And so, especially when you're young, I agree. There is like a level of balance between like, hey, should I take that trip to Paris? Or should I save that money and put it in a retirement account or for my future, like higher education? The worded advice that I've gotten a lot is if it's something that you're going to remember in 5 years, do it, right? You want to build up all the experiences that you're going to have, especially in your early 20s, because let's face it, you're in your 20s, like you should enjoy it, but you just want to be mindful of exactly what that enjoyment is. If it's going to be something that you're going to regret in the future, don't do it at all. If it's going to be something you don't remember in the next like 2-3 months, maybe not worth it. Maybe it's good for a fun time, or if it's like cheap or something like that. But if it's something that you know you're going to remember in the next 5 years and it made a lasting impact on you, and like you made new friendships or you developed new relationships with other people, by all means, do it. There is a balance that is to be had, but my thinking right now is, especially when you're in your 20s, you're at the earliest possible place for your earning potential. So your earning potential is going to go up and up, especially when you're 30, when you're 40, and so forth, right? So you can enjoy your 20s and start making the money back later, or you could still enjoy your 20s by doing lower cost activities and set yourself up even more financially in the future, right? Money compounds at an extraordinarily rate. If you wait 20 years, your money is basically going to quadruple, right? So there definitely is a balance. It depends person to person, and I'm not going to have a good view on this unless you give me a concrete example on this topic. But what I'm trying to say is living below your means does not necessarily mean you're not living a fulfilling or purposeful life. There's things that you could do to be able to maintain that level of balance and still push yourself forward in your career. I think your 20s is just figuring out like what you're good at, what you're interested in, what you like to do, what you feel is more fulfilling. And so If you're living your 20s and you're trying to figure out all those different types of things and you're still building up your future, you're in a good spot, right? There's no need to compare yourself to other people who might be in better positions than you. Like, trust me, I've done that a lot because it's just self-destructive. They were dealt a different set of different set of cards, and they have a different hand than you, if we're using like poker terminology. But that's the thing. Like, in your 20s, it's just about focusing on what you think you're good. Like, try the new things, try a new career. You could bounce around. It's totally okay. No one expects you to have it all figured out when you're 20. And, just keep going, keep trying. Like, for me, I've done like 3, 4 different ventures in the last year, and honestly, all of them failed. I did a social media marketing agency. I tried doing content creation on LinkedIn. I was trying to like buy a small business. I was doing some tutoring thing with one of my friends as well, Alan, Ace Academy. I'm making YouTube videos, and honestly, like, I'm not making money off of it. But you're just trying different things. You're trying to build a skill set and you're trying to grow. And for me, the biggest thing that I've learned, especially in the last like 3 years, is just continue to be better 1% every single day, right? That there is, going back to what I was talking about, there is that level of balance that you're going to have to get to. And there's actually a quote by Alex Hormozy. I don't remember how it exactly goes, but follow that guy if you haven't. He basically says that when you're 20, you could either choose to be a underskilled 30-year-old or a time-consumed, skillful 30-year-old, something like that. And there's no going back. You're going to make the decisions now with the information that you have. And if you choose whatever you choose, there's going to be consequences and there's going to be rewards when, you hit 30 or 35 and you're reflecting on your life. So think about what is going to make your future self happy, the one that's, on his or her deathbed, and also what's going to fulfill your inner child, right? I think that's the purpose of life. So that's kind of the piece of advice and the input that I had on that comment. Gabriel, really appreciate it. Like, I know this is probably a long video. Maybe you're not even watching this, but really appreciate your comment. Please keep getting involved. I want to hear your feedback, your questions, and that goes for everyone. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to make a video on it, giving my perspective. But that being said, thank you so much for watching. I know this is a long video. I was kind of rambling a lot, but this type of stuff gets me super excited. And so I appreciate the time. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.